Welcome to our top 5 gainers and top 5 losers analysis. Today is March 7, 2019, Thursday. In this video, I'm going to share with you my technical analysis for 10 different stocks. You will also hear about my overall sentiment for each stock. And finally, I will share with you my trade setups, especially for those of you who already have a position in any of these 10 stocks. You will also hear my suggestion for those who are still in the planning stage on those who are tinkering on whether or not they will trade the names or not. Okay, so here are the top 5 gainers and the top 5 losers for today. In the top 5 gainers list, I have SMC, MBT, CHP, SECB, and IDC. In the top 5 losers list, I have Green, IRC, ZHI, ATN, ECP. By the way, for those of you who are just new at Equilyst Analytics, this video is actually being published inside the short-term trading tab on your account. So we have started this program last February 27, 2019. For right now, we already have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, turning 8 videos. Today's video is the 8th video since the day we started this program. And these 10 stocks made it to the list because they are the ones that got the biggest total turnover value. So I would like to let you know that we ranked these top 5 gainers and top 5 losers according to the size of their total turnover value and not based on their percentage of day change. I just want to be clear on that. That's the answer for those who are asking, Sir Jaycee, how did you come up with the list? Why is SMC number 1 in the list of top 5 gainers? So that's the answer. We rank them according to total turnover value and not based on the percentage of day change. All right. So let's proceed with SMC first. And in this discussion, I'm also going to mention my price volume analysis. We will also check if there's a dividend announcement for any of these 10 stocks. Now for SMC. SMC closed today at 176.80. Okay? And it's good to see that the price is now moving above the 10-day simple moving average. And the alignment of the moving averages is what you would prefer to see, especially if you have a position in SMC. Why? Because the shorter term ones are the ones above the longer term moving averages. The immediate support is at 165. The immediate resistance is at 179. For those of you who are curious what's above 179, let's say SMC managed to break out above 179, then what would be the next resistance then? I have the answer. So the psychological resistance above 179 is at 202 pesos, or make it 202, yeah, to round it up. 202 pesos. If it breaks down below 165, that will put up 155 as your next support level. When it comes to volume, today's green candlestick is backed up by a relatively significant volume because today's volume is above SMC's 10-day volume average. So you've heard me over and over again where I said that I like it when it's a green candlestick and it is followed by a volume that is above the stock's 10-day volume average. When that combination is present, then it's more sustainable. We see sustainability on the ascent of the price when that combination is present. Okay. Now for the MACD, or here's the thing: there's still some room for a more bullish stance or more bullish movement for SMC because MACD is still moving below the signal line. But perhaps as soon as the price crosses above 179, I think that would be the time that MACD will also cross above the signal line. SMC has a low risk level because of its volatility score of 42%. Let's take a look at the net foreign trade. For 2019, SMC is on a net foreign buying mode for 2019 year to date. Okay. Now let's take a look at some dividend announcements if it has any. I'm talking about the common shares. Common shares. Okay. Let's check if SMC has dividend announcements for common shareholders. Let's take a look at common. Nope. There's no dividends announced for common shareholders as of today for 2019. So no dividend announcements yet for common stocks holders of SMC. Now let's take a look at the price volume review or volume review for SMC. And by the way, today's net foreign trade is a net foreign buying one amounting to 85 million pesos. So that adds up. For me, that's an extra point for the bulls. Anyway, the price that got the biggest volume today, let me just mention a range instead of a single price point. Okay, so the range that got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades today, well, obviously, as I'm scrolling, you can also see what's on my screen, and that price range is 176.80 all the way to 177. This one. Okay, so 176.80 to 177. That's the price range that you would need to monitor, especially if you would like to trade the name in the first 15 to 30 minutes of trading. Okay, 176.80 all the way to 177. Take note, SMC closed today at 176.80 already. Okay, there you go for the volume review. Now my overall sentiment on SMC remains bullish. Okay, remains bullish. There are two ways on how you can rake in your profits. It's either you will sell once the as soon as there's a breakout on the resistance, or you can use a trailing stop loss as your indicator when to sell your position on SMC. Again, it's either you will use your trailing stop loss as your selling indicator, or you can sell on the breakout from the resistance at 179 per share. Okay. Now, if you already have a position on SMC, yep, that's my recommended action plan for you. Now, for those who don't have a position yet on SMC, I would advise that you either wait on the pullback, wait for some pullbacks near 165, or as soon as there's a breakout above 179, and if that breakout is still accompanied with a huge volume, how huge is huge? If the volume is still above the 10-day volume average, then you can do a test buy. Okay, you can ride onto the momentum. You buy on breakout. That's okay when it comes to short-term trading. Okay, especially those of you who have been accustomed into the buy on breakout strategy. Okay, so there you go. There you go for the overall sentiment and some trade setups for SMC. Now let's take a look at the next stock. We have MBT. By the way, MBT is part of our. No, let me confirm that. Is MBT part of our investment guide for long-term investing? Yes, it is. Okay, let's take a look. Let's also check if MBT has any dividend announcements while we're waiting for the chart to load up. MBT does. It did have some dividend announcements with an ex-dividend date of February 26, 2019. February 26, 2019. So there's nothing to worry about that anymore. For those who have been holding the MBT shares before February 26, you will get your cash dividend of 1 peso per share on March 15, 2019. Sometimes it might arrive into your account on the 15th, by the next day, depending on who your broker is. So you might as well want to contact your broker if you still don't have your cash dividend on MBT on March 14. Let's take a look at the chart of MBT. What do I see on the chart of MBT? I'll let you know. MBT closed today at 79.80, and the price is now has risen above the 10-day simple moving average. However, I also see another opportunity for MBT to showcase more bullish price movement from here. Why? Because the 50-day simple moving average is still above the 10-day SMA. I want the green line to hover, to move above the red line. That's what I prefer to see, and that can only happen if and when the price starts to um, challenge the resistance at 84.70. So in other words, for us to get that perfect bullish alignment coming from the simple moving averages, we want to see the price above 84.70. Let's make it 85. Okay. Now today's volume, was it accompanied with a strong volume? Not much. Although today's volume is above the 50% of the 10-day volume average, still it's below the 10-day moving average. So it would have been better if MBT's green candlestick for today was accompanied with a volume above its 10-day volume average. But we can't complain. It's a green candlestick. Volume is not below 50% of today's 10-day volume average. We cannot complain with that. Okay. What we just want to see moving forward is to see another green candlestick and preferably a volume above the 10-day volume average. Okay. For the newbie subscribers, how do you know if the volume is above or below the 10-day volume average? The answer is on your screen. Do you see this mountain range-like background? This one? That's the 10-day volume average. So if the bar of the volume is above this shadow, then that means the volume is above the 10-day volume average. If it's below the shadow, then it means, of course, below the 10-day volume average. What do we expect? Okay. Now, main support is at 75. Main resistance is at 84.70. MACD is still not bullish, but it has already started to bend upwards. It's now poised to do a bullish divergence with the signal line. And risk level wise, MBT has a low risk level because of its volatility score of 38%. For the 2019 year-to-date net foreign trade, let me check if we have a positive or a negative net foreign. Well, I can tell that MBT is on a net foreign selling status for 2019 year-to-date. Okay, based on my estimate, judging it by the size of these downward pointing and upward pointing net foreign trade bars. Okay. Now let's take a look at today's net foreign trade. Is it foreign buying or foreign selling? If it's a net foreign selling worth 32 million pesos. Okay. Now let's take a look at the volume review for MBT. Which price range or price point that is worth monitoring tomorrow if we are to trade the name? If tomorrow is our top-up schedule, since this stock is present in our investment guide for long-term investing. At a quick glance, I can tell right away that 36% of today's volume was printed on 79.80, which is the closing price. And apparently 79.80 is also its intraday high. What does that tell you? Today's traders were convinced, they were highly convinced that it was worth it to buy the stock up, since a majority of today's volume was printed on the intraday high, which is its closing price as well. So monitor 79.80 tomorrow. It could serve again as the intraday high, intraday support or intraday resistance by the next trading day. But don't keep your hopes too high. It's Friday tomorrow. It's Friday tomorrow. Okay? You know so well. For those of you who have been trading for a while now, you know so well that every Friday, sometimes the overall theme or aura every Friday is to sell. Okay? That's just the overall theme, but it doesn't mean that it's always a red day every Friday. Okay? Anyway, that's the price that you need to monitor. Okay. Now, if the price starts below 79.80, I would suggest that you monitor monitor MBT between 78.95 all the way to 78.95 and above this one, because this is the price range that got the biggest number of trades, not necessarily the biggest number of volume. 78.95 to 79.35, 78.95 to 79.35. That range got the biggest number of trades, not necessarily the biggest number of volume. Okay, there you go. So no new dividend announcements. My overall sentiment for MBT remains neutral to bullish. Why neutral to bullish? Why not remove the word neutral? Why not just bullish? It's because I still see some possibilities that MBT might just trade the range. What range am I talking about? This range, 75 all the way to 84.70. What made me say that? Because since the last week of November last year, MBT has just been trading the range, this range. Okay, and for me, this 75 level here is a strong support. Why? Because it's the intersection between the 50 SMA and the 200-day SMA. Okay, if it breaks below 75, then set your eyes on 64. I'm not saying it will literally kiss 64 if it breaks below 75, but there's a likelihood that the 64 might be retested. Okay, there you go for the overall sentiment for MBT. What if you have MBT? Let's say your average price is higher than 79.80, which is the current price. Well, as usual, you know my templated answer to that, right? Respect your trailing stop loss. And how should you compute your trailing stop loss if your average price is higher than the current price? You should base your trailing stop loss on your average price. What if it's the other way around? If the current price is higher than your average price, then you calculate your trailing stop loss from the current price. Assuming, of course, you did not calculate your trailing stop loss right after your first entry. Because the moment you enter a new position on the stock, you have to calculate right away. Do not forget to calculate your trailing stop loss only to remember that you should have calculated it 6 months ago. Do not forget, okay? So, what if you don't have a position on MBT yet? If we are talking about long-term investing, it's generally okay to enter a new position on MBT. Besides, we still have an upside percentage of 14%. Okay? Now, if we are talking about short-term trading, I would suggest that you buy near 75. You should have bought at 75 if you are into short-term trading on MBT. But if it's long-term investing, it's okay to buy not at any price, but just at these price points that we put inside the investment guide for long-term investing. These columns here. Okay, please read the quick start guide so that you can relate better to me when I say these columns. Okay, read the quick start guide. Now that's it for MBT. Now let's move on to CHP. I think I already talked about CHP in my previous videos. Yesterday's video, yeah, I did. Let's check if there's a dividend announcement from CHP rather. Nope, zero dividend announcement for CHP. So let's talk about its chart. CHP closed today at 2.68. Immediate resistance is spotted at 2.74. Immediate support is at 2.21. Major support is at 1.62. Major resistance is at 3.61. While the price is moving bullishly on a short term and on a long term as well. However, I would prefer to see this blue line here, this 200-day SMA, changing position with the or moving below the red line. And that can only happen if the price goes back above 3, maybe around 3.20 or 3.40. So there's CHP also needs to exhibit lots of bullish price movement from here just to put this blue line below the red line and the green line maintaining its position above the red line. Okay, why is this alignment so important to me? Would you like to ask that? Okay, let me ask that question, then I'm going to ask my own question too. Okay, so I prefer to see that kind of an alignment because when that alignment is present, it's a it's a crystal clear confirmation that uh, there's a bullish momentum happening on the stock, not just on the short term but also on the long term. Okay, now if you don't see that kind of an alignment, especially if you see the opposite of that, then it's an indication of the bearish sentiment on the stock, a super bearish sentiment on the stock if it's the other way around. Okay, now today's volume is above the 10-day volume average, so we like that. No, we when we say we like that, I'm referring to those who have a position on CHP. Because if it's a green candlestick, what do I say do we prefer to see? The volume bar must be above the 10-day volume average, right? And that's what I see. And you should be happy, CHP holders, because the MACD line is above the signal line. So if CHP continues to print volume above the 10-day volume average, then there's a big tendency for the price to break out above 2.74 with a sustainable momentum. But provided there is a bullish volume, okay? It's a conditional clause. Do not forget that. CHP has a moderate risk level. Why? It has a volatility score of 63%. Okay. For 2019 year to date, CHP is on obviously net foreign selling mode. Now for today's net foreign trade, it's a net foreign buying worth 24 million pesos. But even if you will add that, year to date, CHP is still on a net foreign selling status. Now let's talk about the range that you should monitor for CHP. Okay, the range that got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades today, cumulatively speaking, is between 2.62 2.59. Okay, 2.59 all the way to 2.68. Again, 2.59 to 2.68. So if you're if you're going to trade the name tomorrow, monitor that range. Might as well monitor it below 2.68, which is the range that I've given you. Okay, there you go. So my overall sentiment on CHP is bullish. Bullish. If you have a position on CHP, you should be fine for as long as you have you are aware where your trailing stop loss is. But if you're just an expert when it comes to buying, but you don't plan your exit strategy, then you are in a bad position then. Okay, so you should know where to sell. You should know where to sell. Don't just keep on buying. Don't just keep on buying stocks. Identify before you add the stock in your portfolio where you should be exiting should things go sour, should things go to the southward direction, should the market proves you wrong. You should have an exit strategy, and that's part of the risk management. Risk management 101. Okay? Don't glue your eyes on the upside potential, because if there's an upside potential, there's a downward potential as well. Okay? There you go. So now if you don't have a position on CHP, should you chase the stock all the way near 2.74? It depends on your risk profile. If you are an experienced and a high risk trader, then you can do a test buy on breakout. But if you are a relatively new trader and you've just been trading the market for a few months or even maybe a year or two, I would suggest you wait for some pullbacks. For while you are relatively new to short-term trading, if I may suggest a strategy for you, I would say that you should begin with buy on pullbacks. You should do the buy on pullbacks strategy, buy on support to begin with. As you gain experience, as you grow your capital, your knowledge, okay, then that's when you should try a more semi-aggressive strategy. But to begin with, for a start, you do the buy on support strategy. Wait for some pullbacks. Okay? Be disciplined. Okay? Invest on your experience first. Invest more time monitoring and understanding the behavior of certain stocks before before you jump the gun and do some aggressive things that are not aligned with your risk profile. Okay? If you will do the otherwise, if you will violate my advice, then it's up to you. But if you do that, then there's a high probability that you will join the 85% of people who lose money in the stock market. The number one reason why people lose money in the stock market is the lack of discipline. They are made of 100% excitement and hurry without first knowing what they're up to, what they're into. So don't even test the depth of the river with one foot. Don't use your foot. Get a stick, so to say, okay, and use that stick to test the depth of the river. I hope you get what I mean, okay, when I say that. Okay, be risk averse, in other words. Okay, be conservative at first. Okay, now let's move on to the next stock. We have as Security Bank. Is Security Bank part of our investment guide for long-term investing? It is, and I have a buy rating with a target selling price of 299, which gives us an upside potential of 80%. Woohoo! This is indeed a long-term one, 80% upside. While we're waiting for chart to load up, let's check if there's a dividend announcement for SECB. Do you think there is? What do you think? Dun, 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 dun. None. Okay. There is none for 2019. These ones here are for 2018. So let's wait for 2019. Let's see. In a few weeks from now, let's see if Security Bank will mirror what it did last year. Last year, it announced 2 cash dividend for common shareholders, 1 peso and 50 centavo per share cash dividend last April. Let's see if this will happen again. It's just the first week of March. It's maybe they will be. Should they decide? Should they if they would like to mirror what they did last year, then perhaps a few weeks from now they will be announcing cash dividend for Security Bank. So monitor this one if you have one. If you have Security Bank. Okay, let's talk about the chart. Security Bank closed today at 169.90. The price is also above the 10-day simple moving average, but I do not like the position of this blue line above the 2 shorter term moving averages. I want this one to change position to move below the red line, and then the green line should cross again above the red line. And I think that kind of alignment will only happen once the price is above 210. Okay, but it would be better to see the price breaking out above 181, the resistance, which is also the, I think it's not actually the intersection, but it's the, to me it's more like a melting pot. Is that an appropriate term? It's actually a confluence, let's say, confluence between the 10 SMA and the 200-day SMA. Okay. Immediate resistance is at 181.3 and immediate support is at 152.5. Major support is at 133, major resistance is at 213. And I prefer to see the price moving above 181, a breakout with volume. Okay, of course. Speaking of volume, today's green candlestick is supported by a so-so volume. It's not really that much because it's below the 10-day volume average. But we cannot complain because it's not 50% lower than the 10-day volume average. But we prefer, of course, a volume above the 10-day moving average. Should this continue, if this level of volume will continue, perhaps it may take time for us to see a breakout above 81.3. But if it starts to register or print some volume above the 10-day volume average and the candlestick's color is green, then it might expedite the the breaking out above 181.3. But until then, we can only do so much but wait. Be patient. This is long-term investing, by the way. On the short term, MACD remains bearish, and SECB has a low risk level. It has a volatility score of 37%. A net foreign trade for the entire 2019, I would say that it's a net foreign selling. It's on a net foreign selling status for 2019 year to date. Speaking of net foreign trade, let's take a look if it's net foreign buying or net foreign selling today. Nope, it's net foreign selling worth 10 million pesos for today. Now let's talk about the price range that got the biggest volume. There's one here that I would like to emphasize, 168. This one got 33% of today's volume with 108 trades. Is that the biggest number of trade? Let me check. Yes, it is. So it's a standalone price point. Guys, it's a standalone price point. 168 flat. And SECB closed today at 169.9. What does it mean to you then? If you plan to top up your position on SECB tomorrow, try to patiently wait near. Let me use the preposition near, okay? Because sometimes when I say at, especially the new investors, they take it literally. Something like if the price pulls back at 168.10, sometimes they still don't buy. They would want to literally see 168. So I'm going to use the preposition near, okay? So wait near 168, okay, if you would like to top up. Now, if you see tomorrow that instead of the price going below 169.9, if it keeps on inching upwards, okay, moving upward, then my recommendation is just to refresh the long-term investing tab and then take a look at the candidate price points where you should buy. Top 5 prices, VWAP, top 10 players buying average. These are your candidates for buying. Okay? So there you go for the volume review on Security Bank. Now, what's my overall sentiment on Security Bank when everything has been said and done? My overall sentiment is neutral to bullish. Why is there a reservation? Why is it neutral? Because MACD is still below the signal line, and although the volume is not less than 50% of the 10-day volume average, I still prefer to see volume above the 10-day volume average. Perhaps if the volume for the past 2 trading days are both above the 10-day volume average, perhaps my overall sentiment would be completely bullish without the word neutral. But because they are both below the 10-day volume average, then I'm neutral to bullish. Okay, so if you don't have a position yet on Security Bank and you would like to add it up in your long-term portfolio, do I suggest that you buy Security Bank? It's okay. It's okay to buy, add up Security Bank into your portfolio. Just make sure that you don't stretch your capital too thin. I don't want to hear in the private clients forum like, hey, Sir Jaycee, I bought everything. I bought all 15 stocks in our long-term investment guide. And each stock has about 1,000 pesos. Okay, it's an exaggerated example, but obviously, if you bought all 15 stocks and each stock only has 1,000 pesos, it means you have stretched your capital too thin. That's not proper. Okay, that's not proper. If you have a starting capital, let's say of 5,000 pesos, let's say your startup capital is 5,000 pesos, then you start with just one stock. If your capital's total value, total market value is about 50,000 pesos, then maybe you can start with two stocks. If it's 100,000 pesos, maybe you can start with three stocks. Okay. If it's half a million, then you can start with, no, not 10, but for me, I would start with five long-term five stocks if you have a starting capital of 1,000 pesos. Oh, not 1,000, 100,000 pesos. If you have a starting capital of 1 million pesos, then I would consider maybe 5 to 7 or 5 to 8, 5 to 8 stocks. Okay. Of course, you will have to divide it into multiple tranches. Okay. You don't buy in a one-time, big-time fashion. You buy in tranches. Never go all in. Now, if we are talking about short-term and you are newbie into short-term trading, again, buy on pullbacks, buy on support. Okay. Please memorize that advice. If you are relatively new to trading, buy on support, buy on support. Don't attempt to do the buy on breakout just yet. Okay? If you want to try that, do it using virtual money, virtual trading. Okay? But for relatively new traders, you buy on support. Okay? Leave the buy on breakout for the experienced ones, the ones with the high risk profile. Okay? You will get there. Do not hurry. Okay? You will get there. You have to learn things the organic way. Because if you will rush things up, if you're always in a hurry, then you might just, as I always say, you might just end up having a more painful than a profitable experience. And that's not the kind of experience you would want to have to get. Right? Okay, now let's move on to the next stock. So we have IDC. And this sounds familiar. I think I talked about it. No, I haven't yet. Okay. False alarm. Okay. IDC. Does it have some dividend announcements? Well, let's find out. Okay. IDC. Surprises. Okay, no surprises. No dividends. No dividend announcements yet. So let's talk about its chart. IDC closed today at 5.15 and I love the volume. It's obviously way above its 10-day volume average. Okay, but as far as the alignment of the moving averages is concerned, again we want this blue line to change position with the green line, and we want this green line to change position with the blue line. Okay, and that I think can only happen if the price breaks out above 5.65. So tomorrow's Friday, IDC. Let's study the behavior of this stock. What usually happens every time it registers an unusual volume? What usually happens? Do you see any particular trend? Okay, last September 4, it registers an unusually high volume. The next day, it registered a green candlestick. Did I say green? No, red candlestick. And then January 15, 2019, it registered an unusually high volume. The next day, it registered a red candlestick. Okay, today is an unusually high volume. And tomorrow, remember, it's Friday. Okay? So, no, I'm not insinuating. I'm not telling you that, hey, I'm sure that tomorrow IDC will register a red candlestick. No, I'm not saying that. I'm giving you some probabilities based on the historical data that we've been staring at since a few minutes ago. Okay? So, there you go. You have to be alert on the behavior of some certain stocks. Okay, so there you go. IDC has a moderate risk level because it has a volatility score of 63%. MACD has just crossed above the signal line and the price went above the 10 SMA. Given that combination, Yeah, technically speaking, it's a buy signal. It's a buy signal. Should we buy? Let's talk about that later after I've given you my overall sentiment. But for now, I'd like to show you the price volume review for IDC. So, before that, let me check first the net foreign trade. It's not even worth mentioning. It's net foreign selling today, by the way, 1 million pesos. Very, very insignificant amount. So we're not going to factor in the net foreign trade in my overall sentiment. Now going back to our purpose, what price or range got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades today? Remember, IDC closed at 5.15, and the range that I would suggest you should monitor tomorrow, especially within the first 15 to 30 minutes of trading, is 5.30 all the way to 5.40. This one, 5.30 all the way to 5.40. Okay, 5.30 all the way to 5.40. But that is if IDC starts within that range. If IDC starts below 5.15, what price should you monitor then? I would suggest you monitor IDC then below 5 if it starts below 5.15 tomorrow, especially if it starts below 5.10, then try to catch it below 5. Now when I say try to catch it below 5, it doesn't mean you should buy when it hits 4.99. Please rationalize what I've been saying, what I'm saying, okay? Apply your ability to rationalize things. So when things go down, you don't buy right away. You rationalize first. You need to ask yourself, okay, yesterday it closed at 5.15. Now it's at 4.85. Should I pull the trigger, buy now at 4.85? Or should I check first if there is a bigger possibility for this 4.85 to turn into 4.5? Okay? You should think that way. Okay? You should analyze. Do a self-talk. Okay? Speak with yourself while you're staring at the volume review, especially if you are using First Metrosec Pro. By the way, those First Metrosec clients, if you attend one of my events, go to equilyst.com and then click on events. If you will attend one of my workshops, then I can submit your name to First Metrosec Pro and tell them to waive the minimum requirements for you to get a First Metrosec Pro access. What are the minimum requirements? Two things. It's either you trade 100,000 pesos cumulative amount in 1 month. You should trade 100,000 pesos worth of trades in 1 month, or you open an account, or you maintain a mutual fund portfolio with them worth 200,000 pesos on the spot. But if you will attend one of my workshops, go to the events page on our website equilyst.com, then events. I will submit your name to First Metro and tell them, okay, this person attended my workshop. Once he or she opens an account with you, please give him or her, make him or her eligible right away, okay, for First Metrosec Pro. And not just that, give him or her 2 months free, okay. That's the, and you will only find that with the Equilyst Analytics. You cannot find the same nobody in the Philippines can waive those requirements and give you 2 months of free access other than when you attend one of my workshops. So it's an exclusive offer from Equilyst, from me, okay, in partnership with First Metro Securities. Going back. So what's my overall sentiment on IDC? I'm actually neutral to bullish. I have some reservations because there's a possibility for the price to just bounce away once it draws closer or once it kisses 5.65. So I'm neutral to bullish. Okay. I'm keen to see tomorrow. I'm keen to see tomorrow if IDC will still maintain its position in the top 5 gainers list, or it will transfer to the top 5 losers list. Let's wait and see tomorrow. But my overall sentiment is neutral to bullish. If you have a position on IDC, let's say your average price is below 4.35, then stick with your trailing stop loss. But if your average price is is greater than 5.15, please recalculate your trailing stop loss and base it from your average price. If you don't have a position yet on IDC, excuse me, if you don't have a position yet on IDC, should you enter a new position between 5 and 5.15 or below 4? My advice, if you see a strong volume, strong demand tomorrow within the first 15 to 30 minutes of trading and the price is playing above 5.15 and the volume is already significantly high, at least within the first 30 minutes of trading, you do a test buy. That is if you have a moderate to high risk level. But again, if you are a relatively new investor, new trader with a low risk profile, you wait for the price to retrace at the support level, 4.35. Do not chase the stock now that it's much closer to the resistance than to the support level. Okay? You should have memorized my pieces of advice by now. Okay? So there you go for IDC. Okay, so I'm done discussing with you my technical analysis, overall sentiment, and trade setups for the top 5 gainers. Now let's move on to the top 5 losers, starting with green. Who among you has green? Do you think it has some dividend announcements? Let's check. Green, 0. No dividend announcements. So let's talk about its price. Did I discuss green the previous day? Green. Oh yeah, I did. I've been discussing this green stock for the past 3 days. February 27, March 1, and yesterday, March 6. Yesterday, green was the number 1 in the list of top 5 losers. And today, it loves that spot. It maintains the top 1 loser position. And just as how bearish I was yesterday, I'm still that bearish on green. It closed today at 2.95 and it's at the brink of breaking down below 2.90. It's the support level. If that happens, if and when that happens, I would suggest you monitor the price near. Of course, the midterm support at 2.60 must be broken down first as a precursor to the next support level at 2.34. Immediate resistance is at 3.5. Okay, between trying to break out above 3.50 and breaking down below 2.90, I'm more inclined into thinking that green, of course, obviously, I'm more inclined into thinking that green will retest the support at 2.90. And if you're going to ask me, do you think it will bounce away or it will continue its downtrend direction once it touches again 2.90? I think it will continue its downward direction unless green traders think that green is already too cheap to be ignored at 2.90 or 2.80. Okay? Always remember that sentiments change, overall sentiments change when sudden drift on the color of the volume, the size of the volume, starts to happen. Sentiments change when things change, as they always say. Speaking about volume, today's volume is above the 10-day volume average, but even so, green has just been demonstrating it's just been displaying some flimsy volumes since February. Not just February, but all the way to the entire year, entire 2019. So, yeah, I'm not even keen into adding green in my watch list. I'm not comfortable with the liquidity that I see on its volume chart. Now, let's take a look at the volume analysis. Remember, green closed today at 2.95, and the price range that got the biggest volume, the highest number of trades, is between 2.95 and 3.05. Again, 2.95 to 3.05. Am I saying that you should buy there? Nope. I'm just trying to update you, but I would suggest, especially the new ones, try other stocks. If you are really biased on green, what an irony. It's green, but we all see the only color that we see is red. Okay, do you see the irony? Okay, anyway, if you have a bias sentiment on green that you really like the stock for I don't know what reason, just monitor it for now. Okay, monitor it for now. Um, I'm not saying that I'm not going to trade green forever. What I'm trying to say is I'm not interested on green right now because I don't see any compelling reasons, especially on the volume side. But perhaps when green starts to show volume like of this size, even up to this size, then I might keep on checking green every now and then, adding it into my watch list. But for now, meh. Okay, let's move on to the other stocks. IRC. IRC. Does it have any dividend announcements? This sounds fresh. Did I just talk about IRC? Yeah, yesterday IRC. Okay, I know there's no dividend announcement for this one yet because it's to be announced, property dividend. Please review my analysis for IRC for the March 6 video because I mentioned some pieces of advice regarding hold those traders who hold the stock just because there's an upcoming dividend announcement. Those traders who do not do the arithmetic on whether it's worth it to hold on to capital to hold on to a stock that has a depreciating capital versus just because there's a dividend announcement. Review that video, the March 6 video. Please review that. Forward the video and then go straight to the part where I was discussing IRC. Okay. Um, yep. Now let's take a look at the chart of IRC. There's nothing exciting to see here, I know, on IRC's chart. Again, the volume is significantly high in support to the bearish direction of the price of IRC. Okay, watch out for IRC near 1.74. Near 1.74, and then if this volume continues once it touches 1.74, then it will be more likely to see IRC near 1.38. All indicators are bearish. Okay, all indicators are bearish. It's a bad alignment of moving averages. These moving averages are not positioned into my preferred position, so I'm as early as now I'm telling you that my overall sentiment for IRC is bearish. Not even neutral to bearish, but completely bearish. And it's not even noteworthy to say something about the net foreign trade, the participation of foreign investors on IRC, because it's an insignificant amount. But for what it's worth, let me tell you the range that got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades today, and that's between 1.84 all the way to 1.88. Again, 1.84 to 1.88. IRC closed today at 1.87. Okay, newbie traders, continue monitoring. It's not an automatic buy when the price hits 1.74. Okay, pardon me if I've kept on repeating these things, even though they already sound like commonsensical things for the experienced ones, but um, I think there are more newbie traders than the experienced ones in the Philippine stock market, knowing that um, 0.75% of the Philippine population is just the one investing the stock market. But anyway, so there you go for my overall sentiment on IRC. Stay away from IRC for now until we see some significant drifts or changes on its volume and the overall sentiment. Okay, now let's move on to ZHI. I've been talking about ZHI for the past 6 days. Huh? I also talked about ZHI yesterday and I was bearish. And today, I think I'm going to maintain the same sentiment for ZHI, bearish sentiment. This is one thing that I like about our top 5 gainers and top 5 losers video. I get the chance to give you regular updates especially for the stocks that make it in the top 5 gainers and top 5 losers list, particularly the stocks that got the biggest total traded value. Okay, and it's also the same feedback that I got when I run a survey. When I ask everyone on Facebook, email, in our private clients forum, would you want us to change the format of our short-term trading strategy instead of me maintaining a table with predetermined stocks? What if I just produce a video like this? Mm, Quite surprisingly, 94% voted for this. That's why we pursued this daily video. It's not easy, guys. It's not easy for me. You see this every day. I've kept my talk time is at least 1 hour every day for this video alone, and that does not include the editing part. Although I have some people, I have my creatives team doing the editing part, uploading, writing descriptions, polishing, blah blah blah. Okay, but we're just dead serious here at Equilyst Analytics into really helping you learn how to hashtag trade independently and hashtag invest profitably. We're dead serious into that, and I do hope you can sense uh, the passion from me every time I discuss this. And I've been discussing Z for 6 consistent days already, and I'm going to discuss it to you as though this is the first time that I'm going to talk about this stock. Okay, so Z does not have any dividend announcement yet. Why are we expecting something here? No, nope. Now let's talk about the chart of Z. Okay, so Z closed today at 0.36. I'm more inclined into thinking that we should watch the price draw closer to 0.34. Volume is relatively high in support of the bearish direction of ZHI. The price already crossed below the 10-day simple moving average, and I think if ZHI continues to register red candlesticks with volume above the 10-day volume average, then it's not impossible for us to see ZHI touching 0.34 one of these days. If not tomorrow, probably on Monday or Tuesday. But again, this sentiment is still subject to change. And meanwhile, MACD crosses below the signal line, which is a death cross. That's not the kind of cross we want to see, especially if we already have a position in the stock. I don't know. I don't know with some of you who among you have a position in ZHI. I hope there's none. Okay, and ZHI has an extremely high, again extremely high. One more time, extremely high risk level. Why? Because it has a 121% volatility score. Why did I emphasize that extremely high? I'm actually addressing that to the newbie traders. Okay, if you are a new trader, excuse yourself from high to extremely high uh, risk stocks. Those stocks that have a volatility score of 100% and more, above 71% rather, above 70%. Okay, so my overall sentiment on Z is, guess what? Of course, bearish. Okay, and let's take a look at the price range that got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades. It's between 0.36 and 0.37. Actually, I'd like to tell you should monitor, not even monitor, okay, because I think it's not even worth monitoring right now. I would rather monitor other stocks except the ZHI. Unless it will register another volume of this size, probably around, what kind of volume, what size of volume, probably above 60 million volume. Okay, but until then, it's not worthy to have a space in my watch list unless it registers volume above 60 million, like what I've said. Okay, but there you go, 0.36 to 0.37. That's the range that got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades. But if you are really keen into monitoring ZHI, monitor it below 0.36, below 0.35 even. Okay, So there you go for ZHI. How about the next stock? We have ATN. ATN. Yep, I remember I talked about ATN the other day together with its brother ATNB. And the last time that I talked about ATN was when? March 4. It was also in the top 5 losers back then, and it's in the top 5 loser again. Let's check if it has any new dividend announcement. Does it have any? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. ATN has. It's to be announced. 100% stock dividend. 100% stock dividend. Ex-dividend date is to be announced. How does that work? If you have 100 shares of ATN until the ex-dividend date, then ATN will double your shares. Your 100 shares then will become 200. But of course, expect the price to drop by 50%. Okay, because it's going to double your shares. There's no free lunch. You think that's free lunch? It will double your shares without adjusting the price, without dilution. Remember, every time there's a dividend, regardless if it's a property, cash, or stock dividend, dilution must happen. It's not a suggestion, it's a command. Okay? Dilution must happen. There's no free lunch. Okay? Um, have we already checked? Oh, not yet. ATN. Okay. ATN closed today at 1.41. Support is at 1.36. Immediate resistance is at 1.56. I am more biased into thinking that it's on its way to 1.36. Is there a deeper support? Support deeper than 1.36? Yeah, you can see that on your screen. So it's at 1.13. But I'm quite interested to see once the price hits 1.36, once it enters that range. Because for the longest time, ATN has just been trading the range between 1.35, 1.36 all the way to 1.56. Since when? Since November last year. So there's 40% to 50% of me says that there's a possibility for the price to bounce away from 1.36 once it kisses that line. But there's also 50% of me that says nope, the downtrend will continue. No chance for a bounce away move. Okay, so that means I have to continue. We all have to continue monitoring the price once it hits. So once it draws closer to 1.36. Okay. The MACD is above the signal line, but it's poised to cross below the signal line already. Risk level is moderate. Okay. Don't wonder why there's no foreign transactions in here, because it's not open to foreign investors. Okay. You will never really see any net foreign trade here because it's not open. Its brother ATN Class B, it's open to foreign investors. Okay. Okay, so how about the range? For what it's worth, let me tell you. The price range that got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades today is between 1.41 and 1.46. 1.41 to 1.46. Okay, there you go. Let's wait for the price to inch closer to 1.36. My overall sentiment is bearish. For the last one, we have ECP. I'm not sure if I already covered ECP, if I already talked about ECP in the past few days. Oh, I did. Why didn't I recall that? 5, 6, and 7. So this is the third time. I've been talking about ECP for 3 days, 3 trading days, 3 straight trading days. How come I didn't recall? Okay. Anyway, let's take a look if there's a... Let's check if there's a dividend announcement for ECP. Negative. Okay. Now let's talk about the chart of ECP. ECP closed today at 15.28. It's an anemic volume. I think it's somewhere like a little bit above 50% of the 10-day volume average, but it's more like, I don't know, it's more or less 50% of the 10-day volume average. But this is an anemic volume for me. Anemic price action, anemic volume despite the redness of these bars and candlesticks. Okay, so ECP is bearish both on the long-term and short-term scales. Support is at 14.25, resistance is at 19.06. There's a possibility for the price to bounce away once it's too close to 14.25. Where did I get that analysis? It's because that has been the case. The support at 14.25 has been tested so many times. Since when? Since last year, December last year. But it managed to stay above that level. But who knows? Sometimes when traders get tired of respecting a certain support level, sometimes they violate that. They don't respect the support level. They continue they let the downtrend continue, and they switch hands with they switch their trading capital to more profitable, more volatile, more liquid stocks. Okay? My overall sentiment is bearish on ECP. Now, for what it's worth, the range that got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades is, let's see, it's between 15.28 all the way to 15.36. Again, 15.28 all the way to 15.36. And today, ECP closed at 15.28. If you don't have a position on ECP yet, good job. Okay? If you have a position on ECP, please, maybe you can get out as early. Perhaps you can consider getting out alive. Getting out alive as early as now without waiting for your trailing stop loss to be hit. And then you switch your buying power, your trading capital to some more interesting, more liquid stocks. Okay? There you go. So there you go for today's top 5 gainers and top 5 losers analysis as of March 7, 2019, Thursday. Just a recap, I talked about SMC, MBT, CHP, SECB, IDC. For the top 5 losers, I talked about Green, IRC, ZHI, ATN, ECP. And I'd like to sneak in as well that on March 23, I will have a whole day seminar. It's a workshop. It's more than just a seminar but a workshop, like a classroom based type of discussion and learning on March 23 Interlock City from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. You will see the details on our website at www.equilyst.com, and then you click on the events page. And by the way, we have a stock market seminar for the first batch on May 4. It's going to be a 4-hour workshop. I'm going to give the nitty-gritty, the nuts and bolts of my evergreen strategy and the evergreen strategy to profit in the stock market. If you heard the 30-minute snippet of this entire blueprint during my 30-minute talk with First Metro Securities 2019 Traders Playbook, it's actually a 4-hour workshop, but I just delivered the summary of it in 30 minutes. Of course, I talk about the important points, but I had to skip equally important points as well. More important points, I had to skip that. I have to skip them because I only had 30 minutes to talk. Otherwise, I wouldn't have any time. I wouldn't have any chance to breathe if I would cover everything in 30 minutes. So on May 4, 2019, shortly, the exact venue will be included here. It's on a first come first serve basis. By the way, I only want in these workshops I only want to have 30 people in the room, so that within those 4 hours I would like it to be an intense discussion, like a classroom based discussion whereby all questions that you may have will be answered. I want it to be that focused. I don't want to have 50 audience. I don't want to have 100 participants in a room. I only want 30. Okay. so that I can focus on those 30 so I can really impact the learning, the journey of those people when it comes to learning the ropes on how to trade independently and invest profitably in the stock market. That's on May 4 in Manila. First come, first serve. If I were you, I would reserve your spot right now. Um, if all slots have been taken, then we have no choice but to just add you to the second batch. And of course, I still don't know if the second batch will be this year or next year. My calendar is already quite full up until August. Actually, it will be the entire year. My team has not just put everything here yet. After May 4 in Manila, I will have the same seminar in Pampanga on May 18. And then June 1, Cebu. June 22, Davao. On July 6, Baguio. On July 20, Cavite. On August 3, Iloilo. Okay? So if I were you, you buy your ticket now. 30 slots are only open. Even if you'll tell me that you're going to double the price that you're going to pay for the ticket, I'm sorry, but it's limited to 30 slots only, really. Otherwise, I might end up not answering everyone's questions again. I want all everyone's questions answered within those 4 powerful hours of discussion. Okay? Again, this is our video for the top 5 gainers and the top 5 losers analysis for March 7, 2019, Thursday. My name is Jaycee De Guzman of Equilyst Analytics. Have a great day.